Welcome to another edition of The Tongue with Dr. Myke. I'm so glad you're back with us again. Today we're doing things a little bit different, but I want to always make sure that you're checking us out on thetonguespeakslife.com or on psalm346ministries.org. Either one of those places you can go and check out all of our podcasts from before. There's a ton of things going on. I want you to check that out. I do want to start this off a little bit differently. I'm going to share a part of my life from the past. It'll give a little bit of insight into me. And it's going to be exciting for me as well. And I'll explain that in a second. It's, I've been out of college now, my first college. I went there in 1994. So let's date ourselves a little bit. So let's do a background of Dr. Myke. In high school, on my senior year of high school, a lot of snow that year, so our graduation was extended, and the end of the year didn't actually happen until the middle of June. And during that time, my parents and I, being a normal teenager, had our differences. We got into some arguments. I was accepted into different schools that started in the fall. One program I got into was at Bloomsburg University, for those of you that know where that is. And that program started in the summer. That was a summer program. You would go during the summer. You would take the fall off. You'd come back home. You could do community college. You could do nothing. And then you would return back to campus there in the spring of 95. So at the conclusion of my high school year, as I say, my parents and I weren't getting along so well. We actually got in an argument. And because of my prolonged school graduation, it turned out that the summer program was going to start the day after my high school graduation. So after my high school graduation, I actually went to a graduation party after the ceremony, and I ended up getting in a fight with my parents. I don't even remember what it was about at this point, but it changed where I went to school. It changed my direction in life. And I ended up going to a ceremony for my graduation. I went to an after ceremony party at one of my friends' homes. And the next day, I woke up and was driven to school to start my college career. So I had no summer there. There was no preparing for school, my choice on where I was going. I was accepted all over. I ended up going to the place that started the next day. I say all that to say there was probably between 500 and 600 summer freshmen that went that year. I met tons of new people. I know for you introverts out there, I was very introverted and very to myself. And when I went away to school, I thought, nobody here knows who I am. This is a chance for me to be whoever I want to be. They don't know I'm shy. They don't know that I'm, like to be by myself, or I'm not extroverted or anything like that. So I used it as an opportunity that they didn't know who I was. So I was going to be whoever I wanted to be. And I ended up coming completely out of my comfort shell, I'll say, and putting on a persona of somebody totally different that was not who I am or who I was at that time. And I had a fantastic time. Nobody could tell I was really shy. I became extremely outgoing, and I met so many great people. To make a long story short, the plan was to go during that summer and to, like I said, return in the fall. Some of my friends stayed there during the fall, and they started pledging fraternities and sororities. And some people went home and went to community college. I ended up leaving after the end of the summer session. For everybody in college, it's a huge wake-up call to go from high school one week and the next day wake up and have an 8 o'clock class where the professor doesn't really care if you come or not. And once I knew that they didn't care if I came or not, I never went. So I was more interested in developing my social life than my academic life. And I've paid for that many years later, but we'll talk about that at another time. So I became extremely close with the people that I went to school with. And I took that fall semester off. I came home. I went to community college, and in the spring of '95, I went back to school. I was reunited with all of the summer freshmen that came to school that were all in the same situation, away from home for the first summer of their real life. We became extremely close, closer than my family at some points. We went through a lot of things. In my first college career, I'll say I went through so much emotional things. We had people pass away. We had a friend of mine pass away. We had other people that we knew pass away. It was a very difficult time in my life. It screwed me up for a long time. Jump ahead, I ended up leaving that school eventually and having to restart my college program, my college career completely over 4 years later, starting from scratch. So at that point, I was severely deflated, and my father said, 4 more years, I felt like a failure because I dropped out of school. I got kicked out 3 times. I failed out twice. And now I'm not 18 any longer. Now I'm 21, 22, and I have 0 credits to my name, maybe 3. And, my father said, you can either start your life over and go back to school, or you can use this as an excuse to not do anything. But in 4 more years, this time is going to go by anyway. So 4 years from now, this point right now, you can either be done with school and started over and completed school, or you can be somewhere else in life. And that was the one thing in life that stuck with me, was that time is going to go by anyway. So I restarted my college career. I ended up going to Penn State and graduated there. I went back for my master's degree. That went extremely well for me because now I was playing catch up. I just wanted to go because I wasted 4 years of my life. And so now I'm on a fast track to do as much as I can. I got my first master's degree. I went to law school. I got my PhD. I then went back to school for a second master's degree. To say all of that, I can get into details for that for a long time. However, I say all of that to say this. 20 years have gone by, 15 years have gone by, 20 years have gone by, 25 years have gone by since that time. I met a ton of people that were super important to me in my life. I really realize now that people are with you on certain journeys and certain periods of time. Sometimes people pop back into your life and you don't know when and you don't know why, and you continue to walk a little bit longer with them. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. This is very eye-opening. I'm in a total different spot in my life from when I was at school. I was a Christian then. You could say that. Nobody could tell I was. I grew up with values, and I knew right from wrong, but I really wasn't actively seeking or anywhere in my life that I should have been. And looking back now, what a waste. What a waste. But like I said, I did meet great people, and they were, some of them, closer to me than my actual brother. And my fraternity brothers were very close to me. And it's funny to say that because some of them I still don't know their real names. Everyone had a nickname. There was 400 Mykes that went to school. There was 500 Johns. Nobody called each other that. Everyone had a nickname, and you knew exactly who you were talking to and about when you used that nickname. So some of those people, I only knew their nickname, but they were super close to me. And sadly to say, and a lot of this is my fault, A lot of it is life just gets in the way and continues on, and everyone's on their own journey and their own track and their own path. I do not speak to any single one of those people that I went to school with. The people that were super important to me, the people that we went through death and life at a young age and experienced freedom that we never had before together, and trying to find our way in life. And they were super important to me, and I don't talk to any one of them. I don't even know where they're at. I did speak to one. One looked me up a long time ago after we were out of school, and he had become a Christian, and he came out and wanted to go to my church. And I wasn't really a very deep Christian at that point, but I brought him to my church. I hadn't seen him in years, and it was great to see him. He met my family, my church, and then he went away. We promised we would stay in touch, and I never heard from him again. He never heard from me again. Until the other night, my fraternity brother that I went through all this with, all these things, reached out to me 25 years later, and I haven't spoken to him other than texting until right now. I don't know how this is going to go. I have so much questions and so much things I want to say to him, and we're going to experience that together, because I'm going to call him right now. And things have gone on in our life. This might be boring for some people, but for me, this is one of the greatest moments of my life, because I'm reconnecting my younger me to my current me. And this person saw both of that. Well, he saw the younger me. He hasn't seen this me. I'm super excited to call him. He's been a good friend of mine. Back then, we were super close. And we pledged our fraternity together. We made it through our fraternity together. And we left our schools. And I'm not even sure when I left. I left so defeated and so beat up after this experience. I didn't want to talk to anybody, really. But throughout these last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, now 25 years that I've been home, I think of these people often, very, very many times. Certain things that I went through and the funniest times of my life, that the people that were there and the key figures that you grow and you go through. And I brought my friends from home up to meet my friends at school, and they all got along. And it was some of those, mixing those two worlds for me was super important. And it was awesome. And, I've missed that part of my life because it just abruptly died. And now I'm about to make this phone call and reconnect with this person. His name is Myke, is Myke Woods, and I'm about to give him a call. So hang on, you're going to go on this journey with me.
Hey, Myke.
I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. Myke Woods, what's up, buddy? What's up?
I am serious that I looked many times and never, saw hide nor hair of you online. I figured, well, the guy just evaporated.
Yeah, so. I'm like David Blaine. I'm mysterious. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good.
I miss you, dude. I've missed you for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. You were the only guy I connected with after, I crawled out of Bloom, you and Gibson, but it took a long time to reconnect with him. Like we didn't connect anymore, after a couple of years of, did Montco, which is a community college.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then he was just gone. And I mean, it was a crazy story because we were both living in Harleysville and not knowing. And then my middle son is Myke, and he had a t-ball game. And so I was down at the game, and there's a bike path that goes along like 4 fields. And I was going to the bathroom, and this guy, walks past me in the Gibson Strut, and he's like,
I know that Strut.
Yeah, I know you do. And he did it, and just kind of gave me the head nod and the, hey man, and then kept going, and then just like 2 more steps, turn around, and he's like, Myke.
It didn't dawn. Wow.
Yeah, and we were still living under each other's nose, but not connected at all. And so that would have been now probably 10 years, 9 or 10 years maybe.
Oh wow.
And maybe 8. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we, when I was married, as couples, we got together frequently, and my ex became very good friends with his wife, and then in the end, a part of like I don't know what you want to call it, but just the unraveling started in the relationship that she had with Joe's wife, because they were like best friends.
Oh wow.
And unfortunately, my ex just hit some bad I don't know, bad whatever, and so that relationship with her fell apart.
Oh,
and she didn't want that. She tried to reconnect again, and still, just didn't work. So after, it's been almost 3 years now, but I still, got together with Joe's wife's name is Erin. Went over with the kids because some of the kids are in, similar ages, did barbecues and stuff. And now, like I said, through text, Joe and I get together, here and there. We try to be more diligent about it. Yeah. Like I was with him maybe 2 weeks ago. But I look forward to the 3 of us being able to sit down.
Dude, you know what? Like, as you say that, like my heart like just jumped. That just hearing his name when you said it before, and when you texted to me, I went through a lot with him. He was super close with me, I thought. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, one of the funniest times in my entire life is with him. And if I ever talk to him again, I'm going to bring it up. And I know he remembers it because the 2 of us were laughing so much that whole day.
I have told a story that involves you and him many, many times to people, because to me, it's one of the funniest moments ever, even though if you weren't there, it's not funny.
Yeah.
But it was at the Buckhorn.
Okay.
And it was probably really early in the morning or really late at night. I don't remember. I'm going to say it was early in the morning.
Had to be.
And the waitress came over and she goes, "Does anyone want any more coffee?" And he said, everybody's like, no. And she goes to leave. And Joe goes, "You know what? I'll have a little coffee." And so she just like puts a splash in the cup, like out of like, he just irritated me. And Joe has like tears coming down his face. And all of us are like, "What?" And he can't talk, so he just
showed it to us. Yeah, dude, I remember that like it was yesterday. Now that you said that, oh my god.
Yes, like a little coffee.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, dude, that brings back so much to me. That part of me has been dead for so long, dude, because I talked to 0 people from that school or from that time in my life, and there's so much memory and nostalgia I have, and sometimes I'll hear a song or I'll smell something, and it brings me right back to being 18 years old or 19 years old, and these people that were, you included, being so important in my life that just I have no contact, nothing. I have no idea where they are other than a name or a memory in my head. And it's sad, man. It really is sad. you know?
I knew when I got saved that I had left that behind because
Right.
it was, it wasn't something I was holding on to. I mean, I will be brutally honest, and I threw out the brick, I threw out the sweatshirt. None of that meant anything to me.
Wow.
You know,
really?
it was like, it was fun, but I had felt, like coming out of there and actually, going a whole new direction as a new creation.
Yeah.
I had left all that behind.
Yeah.
And now 25 years later, I would stop and talk to anybody, as far as, connecting from a relationship standpoint, but I don't have those, tangible things. And probably if that was, known throughout whatever, I don't even know how many guys are still, even really connected.
Yeah.
I'm part of a Facebook group, and the only guys that post on it, it's the Bloom Delta Pi group. Myke, they're all like 100, and I don't know any of them. It's like number 12, number 36.
Oh, jeez.
Like, what?
Yeah.
These are old guys that are just looking for breakfast buddies at the diner. But I guess we're old guys too now. But
wow, if you're number 12, I mean, you and I were in the 500s, man.
Yeah, we're good. We got a few years.
Oh, that's way up there.
On Facebook, long time ago, connected with Cashman. I've never had any communication with him.
Which one? Which one?
Ryan.
Okay.
Not Rob.
Yeah.
Rob actually is a local guy, but Gibson's connected to Rob. I think Rob actually moved back to Bloom and has a teaching job up there. I think. Got married and got like a teaching job somewhere in Central PA. But I know Joe keeps up with him.
You want to hear a funny Joe story real quick that just came to mind? When Joe was leaving school for good, he was living with me at the time over on Sesame, right? So the two of us lived on Sesame Street, and he was staying with me, wasn't going to school, and he was about to leave school forever. And I had a Jeep at the time, and we loaded up everything he owned into my Jeep, and we were about to leave school, and I was going to drive him to his house. And he just looked at me and he goes, it's pretty sad that, my everything I own in life fits in your Jeep, I just started cracking up at him. The poor guy, there was plenty of room left over in the Jeep, man. It wasn't packed at all. The poor guy.
My stuff fit in a couple trash bags.
Yeah, mine, I left a lot of stuff there.
I left at that same time. And I wouldn't have left. I'd probably be dead if we're being honest.
Me
had
too.
it not been for him, because he and I were sitting in Zate's basement, drinking the rest of the gross beer like we usually did.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm headed out of here tomorrow." And so my recollection was that Dorian picked him up, but I don't know if you packed his stuff up and then took him somewhere and then Dorian got him.
I actually drove him to his house. I drove him.
Did he wind up back in Bloom after that?
I don't know.
Because he was at a party with me. Listen, all of this is really fuzzy. But he was at a party with me, and he said, we've been sitting there the whole night. No one else is down in the basement at Zate's. And he said, Dorian is coming up tomorrow, and I'm going home, and you're going with me. So it could have been that he had gone home already and then had come back maybe for a party or whatever. But I thought he was totally pulling my leg. I was sitting in the crack room, and Dorian pulled up the driveway. And I was like, holy crap, this is actually happening. I took everything off the floor, threw it in trash bags, and got in a car and came home. And I didn't even let them drop me at my house. They dropped me at, somebody else I knew in Lansdale, about 15, 20 minutes away, just so I could get my thoughts together before I walked into my house.
Was I gone? Was I gone by then?
I don't remember, Myke.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I remember when I failed out twice, or 3 times maybe, but I got kicked out also. And when that happened, I stayed up there, and I lived up there because I couldn't unplug myself, and I felt like I was such an important person there, and I was. You know what I mean? And as we grew higher in the numbers, as the older people graduated and left, and we became more important in the frat house, I couldn't leave. I just didn't want to leave. So I stayed up there for like it might have been a semester or two, and I remember my dad called and he was like, "When's enough? I was like,
right, yeah, you're at that point you're like lawn furniture.
Yeah.
I was there, so summer of '94. I came back in the spring. You guys all pledged in the fall.
No, I didn't. I pledged with you.
Oh, shoot.
Those guys, the
Jacobson and Clay.
Yep, all those guys, they stayed in the fall and pledged. And you remember when we left, I was like, you guys find the biggest, baddest place here and go there, and when we come back, we'll all get together. And they ended up pledging. They were supposed to wait for us. They pledged that whole semester, and then when we got there, they were already brothers, and now we pledged under them, and they like that very much so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you were in the same group with me. See, well, I don't remember everybody in our. Well, I remember Jeff.
There was only 4 of us. There started out 30 some, and 4 of us made it, and it was Dan and Jeff and you and I.
That's crazy.
Yep, and Jeff broke his ribs. Remember? Huh?
Your memory's better than mine. So here's what I tell my kids from time to time, or at least I've told them. I tell the story. The kid that was a twin, his brother was at SIO. I think their name was Cassidy.
Yep.
He would do one-arm push-ups.
Yes, he did.
Drag me up and down so that we wouldn't get in trouble because I was so weak.
Bro, I will never forget that because I was on the other side of him. And it was me and then him and then you. And then when you were like having trouble, he actually was doing one-arm push-ups, and he had his arm, he had his hand like grabbing the butt buckle of your jeans, and he was pulling you up. Yeah, dude, I remember that. Like that
absolutely was crazy.
Yeah.
And then when he quit, I didn't have the clarity at the time, but when I think about it after the fact, I'm like, man, he was so smart.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing this for?
Yep.
He didn't quit because he couldn't hang. He quit because he didn't see the value.
Yeah, he was a tough guy, man. He really was.
Yeah. So, I came home after that. I don't even know where I was going with that story. Oh, other people I connected to.
Yeah.
Jacobson, sends me a happy birthday from time to time. He actually wound up marrying this woman who was married to my neighbor's buddy. And this guy was the biggest goof. Like, there's a lot of other words that come to mind. And every time I met him, I would go to my neighbor, who I wasn't like friends with, but, we were friends. And, if they had a barbecue, we'd come over, or, like a Halloween thing, whatever. And I would say, Joe, how are you friends with this guy? Because he was so rude and obnoxious. Yeah. He's like, we've been friends since we were 5, Myke. He's like, you just kind of take the good with the bad. I'm like, all right, I get it. Yeah. So anyway, his wife wound up leaving him, and she married Jacobson.
No way.
So funny when I see this pop up. Oh, yeah, like it popped up on my feed. I'm like, what's Myke Jacobson doing on my Facebook feed? What's his face, his ex-wife. But he looks like doing well in probably his family business and what his dad was doing.
That's what I remember.
And
I can trump I can trump that story. Let me trump that story.
Go for it.
Remember our pledge brother Dan? You remember Dan? Yes. So
yes.
He married my ex-girlfriend, the one I was dating.
Nicole Brigard?
No, not that one.
Oh.
Nope, she was a Pixie sister. I don't want to say her name because I'm recording this. But
no problem.
her and I were dating for a long time, and then I got kicked out of school and I left for a semester. But I was coming up periodically, every other weekend, every weekend, whatever. And the last time I came up there, they were acting very strange. Together, and then it was, I remember because it was the first time we did that parade for homecoming, and we built that huge dragon that spit the it spit the fire extinguisher out the nostrils. I don't know if you remember that, but
barely, but yes.
But then that's when I found out that they were an item. And last time I heard, they ended up getting married, and I thought that was kind of weird, but it is what it is. You know,
it's all part of the bigger story. And Jeff, you remember Jeff Lombardi?
Of course,
obviously.
Yep.
He is with NFL Films.
Oh, of course he is. Jeff Lombardi. Where else would he be?
Where else would he be?
Yeah.
He posts these pictures of, you know, his beautiful family and him like going to London, going all over.
Wow.
You know, every year I look forward to his post from the control room for the Super Bowl. He's like, we're ready to go. And I'm just like, man.
That's awesome.
How did this guy get that life?
That's cool. He was dating somebody. Yeah. He was dating somebody very serious at school, and I'll never forget, because when I went to law school, when I went and took my LSATs, and his girlfriend was there taking him with me, and she didn't say hi to me. She didn't look like she acknowledged me at all. But we hung out with her all the time. She knew who we were. You know what I mean? And it was his very serious girlfriend. I don't know if you remember her, but I thought that was weird. And then I never saw her again either. You know, we took the test, and then I ended up I finished the test early, and I just took off. I didn't wait around. But that's all, dude. We could talk about stories like this for hours.
Yeah.
I know we can. I remember you coming to my church. You reached out. This must have been how many years out of school were we? Because
that was probably 98 or 99. No, 99 is when I got saved. So it would have been in 99. And I don't even know how you and I connected again, because I wouldn't have, unless you told me in college, you know, that you had a relationship with God. I don't know how you and I connected.
Well, I did have a relationship, but I wasn't a Christian, I would say. I grew up knowing right from wrong. I grew up in a Christian home. You couldn't tell by the way I acted at school that I was a Christian at all. But I think you and I must have, I remember going to church on Sundays at school towards the end. And I remember that when we left, I don't know how you and I left, but I remember, I think you reached out to me at one point, and you're like, hey, I'm saved. And I think I was like, hey, me too. And we just started, you know what I mean? You're like, I would love to come out and come to your church. And you did. And you came out to the church, and you're like, I want to meet your pastor. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's awesome. I'm at that same church still.
Well, you know, Mike, do you know why I'm talking to you tonight?
No.
Because I was sitting there Saturday night. Saturday morning, I had, as I was, you know, in my just morning quiet time, you know, you pray and stuff just kind of starts to form in your mind, as like it was just dropped there. Yeah. And as I'm praying, I'm gently nudged that, you know, when I got divorced, unfortunately, the day my ex-wife walked out, and then my sisters came and picked up my kids to take them overnight for a few days, and I'm sitting in my house alone, broken, I realized how much I had isolated myself from the brothers in Christ who I had walked with for years, got together with every week, prayed for, saw God do like amazing things. Because of work and because of life, just totally isolated myself. And then the pandemic, and I'm sitting there that night, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe how far I am from everyone. And so piece by piece, you know, God put that back together. But I was sitting there on Saturday morning, and it was just kind of like a nudge, like, hey, you know, you're kind of not that you're there, but you're kind of not, you know, pursuing the way that you need to, and really establishing, those relationships. There's always opportunity, and you find excuses. So anyway, I'm sitting there Saturday night, and, as has happened many times, I'm like Altieri, and I thought to myself, what was the name of that church? And so I Google, because you lived in Easton,
yep.
I Google Rock Easton, and there's a Rock church. And I'm looking at the website, I'm like, that ain't it. So then I did a different search, and there was one, it was House in the Rock from Wind Gap. Yep. And I'm like, I don't know my geography, but, who knows how far Wind Gap is from Easton. I plugged that into Facebook, and on the page, the first post that comes up with, like 8 likes on it, I'm like, let me look and see who's liked it. 25 years later, having had no contact with you at all, the 8th name is Myke Altieri. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, well,
that's
the odds.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this guy's not going to accept my friend request because he's been under a rock for the last 25 years, and he's not going to want to connect with me.
I have, man. I've been
right away. And that was, I was so grateful for that. And thank God for that. Yeah, it's very, very cool.
It's funny too, because that just happened. Like, they just made me, I disappeared from that church for a while. I disappeared from all church for a while. I went through a lot of things that you and I can't wait to talk about. But it kind of brought me, this is recent now, we started, my friend JB started a ministry, and it's Psalm 346 Ministries, and I'm the CEO of that now, and we started a food program, and we reached out to House on the, I just showed up to House on the Rock one day with like, a couple gallons of milk and some cases of eggs, and they're like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I used to go here all the time. And they're like, nah, we don't remember you, and I'm like, you're right. And I told the assistant pastor at the time, he's like, when's the last time you were here? And I'm like, probably 2 years ago, and as I'm driving home from that, I'm thinking to myself, man, how stupid. I haven't been there in probably a decade. You know what I mean? And since that outreach, I've been going back there more and more, and they just like put me on there as somebody who likes their stuff, and I think I did it twice, bro. Like, I like something they put on there because
awesome.
You know what I mean? And it's man, if I would have made the connection on how that would happen and reach to you, no way. You know what I mean?
I was so grateful. I was so grateful.
Yeah, man. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's not that I don't have anybody. It's how you, like how you reach out to others, and how you make yourself available, and how you, basically, go before God and say, God, who do you want me to connect with?
Yeah.
I'm not like a big Henry Blackaby guy, but he wrote a book about where look where God's at work and join him there. Like, really simple theology.
Yeah.
Make it complicated, but I know that he's put every guy I reached out to who I had been with for a long time, and like through tears when I was going through the divorce, said, I'm really sorry, I need guys around me at this time. Every single one immediately like embraced and was there for me, calling me on the phone weekly, some of them every other day.
That's awesome,
praying
man.
with me on the phone, texting back and forth, taking specific prayer requests, as I was navigating through it. But I had told myself, in listening to, not the still small voice, but, the negative thoughts, none of these guys want to hear from me. Nobody wants to, talk to me, because, I had just gone off, down a path of, I just need to work and work and work and work. And
I've been there.
At one point, I was a part of like probably 3 or 4 different boards, like heading up, nonprofit boards and doing all this stuff that I was encouraged to do. But also, that there's something, this is probably for family consumption, but a board a word that starts with a W that sounds like door is somebody who just keeps, jumping on every single thing just to fill up their time and doesn't have a connection to the cause, doesn't have, necessarily any real passion for it. It's just so they can check it off. I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this. And, I was in so many different ones, but it all is time. And time's the greatest, resource that we have.
Yeah.
And I was blowing it. So, now, and so when that happened, I parted ways with all of them and then kind of stripped it back to nothing. I was just recently given the opportunity to join up a new organization with my company. And I sat on it for a couple of weeks, and then I reached out to one of our EVPs and said, if you want to throw my name in for consideration, I would consider it. So that'll be the first time, that I would do anything like that in probably 7-8 years. But it stinks when we start to fill up our lives.
It happens
with the wrong stuff. Not bad stuff, just the wrong stuff.
Life happens, man. Life gets in the way. That's what I always say. It was like, and from my journey has been quite a difficult path to get me where I am. And you know how people can tell you, don't touch that stove. It's hot. You're going to burn yourself. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Well, I got to touch it, and then, yeah. And then when
it's hot. Yeah. How do you know how hot? What do you know about what I think about hot?
Yeah.
Your hot might not be my hot.
Exactly. So I've learned a lot of things the hard way for sure. And, God blessed me. I remember being on my, at the time I was sleeping on an air mattress that had a slow leak in it. So every morning I'd wake up flat on the floor. And
you already had a bit.
Yeah. And I was like, God, just changed my life. And I prayed it for, I was like, just change my life. And then my little boy showed up, and you want to talk about change my life. Yeah. And we can talk about all that, when we get together. And, cause I want to hear everything about you, man. Your wife, your marriage, your kids, all that stuff, your divorce. I know that's painful, but, it's good to get it out. And bro, you need to know, like, you're saying I'm skeptical, or, who can I'm always going to be here.
That was just that moment.
Yep. I'm just saying, dude, I'm always going to be here. You know that. You should know that. Because I need to hear that sometimes, and I need to say that more, because I lost a lot of friends. When I went through my stuff, how you said you had a good support group and they call and pray for you. Well, I would reach out to my friends that I called friends, and I would tell them what I'm going through, and the responses I would get would be, "Yeah, man, that sucks. That's man, I don't know what to tell you." And then I was like, well, I don't really need to hang around with you anymore. I you know what I mean? Like, you're not helping me, and not that I'm looking for you to give me something to be my friend, but when I really needed you, you're not there. You know what I mean? You just don't. There was nothing there for me to lean on. And I think, God puts us through all this stuff too, so you learn to strip away, and you're not relying on these people and not trying to figure it out yourself, and you're relying on Him, and that's the only way you get through things. And I'm learning that more and more and more every day, but it's, I went to school, and I know, this, when I got kicked out all this time, dude, I rapid fired went back to school, and I just did as much as I could, because I wasted all that time at Bloom. You know what I mean? And I was on a mission to, man, my life's what a waste, and here we go. And, so I have some knowledge, but it's, I'm not a smart man. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely need my support group too. And I need, my dude, when you reached out to me, it was like, my entire past opened up to me and became alive. And I don't know how to explain that, other than I know it's been dead for a long, long time. you know.
Yeah.
And just you, when I looked down at my phone and saw the name, I can't tell you like the feeling that came over me about that. And
Chills.
yeah, it really was. And I'm like, I can't believe. And then when we did the math and we're like 25 years, what? What's going on? You know, like I'm an old man now. But I can't.
I think I was saying to one of the boys, you know, like I can't believe 25 years. I have no clue where that went.
No,
it's like it seemed realistic.
Yep.
And I think his response, this is like my very simple-minded son. He said, "What does it matter, Dad? You're connected again. That's awesome."
Amen, man. That's awesome. That is what a smart dude.
Right? Yeah, and there's nothing we don't have to, and that is the Lord. Like we don't have to, you know, worry about what we didn't or what wasn't. But yeah, you know, like where are you today, and you know where's God at, and how do we you know join in? Tell me about I don't know how much time you have, but tell me about how long ago did you start up the food? That was in the last year?
Yeah, so this started probably last year. I want to say I'm really not good with timelines. It's got to be last year, and it started out with I was friends with somebody that worked for me. I ran a bar and a restaurant, and they were my entertainment committee, and they ended up dating somebody that I met through them, and he is actually the one that we discovered we were Christians, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden we started talking, and I did a separate podcast before that he would edit and post and put out. And, you know, the more I talked to him and the more we discussed what was wrong with, not what was wrong, but what we would like to do, we started experimenting with other things, you know. And I was like, hey, you know what, man, like I've been writing this, I've been writing things for a long time, and I used to write letters to my family about God. And my one uncle who passed on, but he had cancer, and I would handwrite him a letter every week. You know, it was like 3-page letter, 4-page letter, just telling him support and God's love and all this stuff, right? So I have all these letters, and I was like, I would love to put that out on a podcast and do some things with it. So we started working together on that project, and that podcast came out, and like you're on that episode right now. And so that led us to, hey, why don't we do this other thing? And we started, you know, it's his idea. He started this Psalm 346 Ministries. And, you know, as we discussed things, and we're like, let's reach out to the homeless shelter that we, that's down here in town. And, you know, I walked in there and I'm like, hey, what do you guys need? And we found out they needed coffee all the time, tons of coffee. So him and I went, and we went to the store and we bought like maybe $400 worth of coffee, right? And so we're taking it down, and on my way out, I asked to speak to the manager of the store, and I said, listen, we just bought this, like we're not asking for anything. I'm taking this to the shelter. Is there anything you would like to give? And I'll take it, you know, with your, you know, from you. And he's like, well, we have a program here where we donate so much, you know, let me get back to you. And he took my name and number, whatever. I didn't think anything of it and it was, I think, during the holidays. And, you know, sure enough, like a couple weeks later, he reached out and he's like, hey, if you were serious, I can use you to come up and pick up food once a week, you know, or twice a week. And we worked out the details, and we started taking food down there 2 days a week, you know, and then 2 days became 3 days. And then every time he called me, I made sure we were there. And so then not just taking it to the homeless shelter, then it was, what churches can we go to? And then as that snowballed, it was individuals were reaching out. Hey, you know, I'm down on my luck, or, you know, I can't afford this and that. And how do we, it just sort of snowballed, you know what I mean? And so now we're at one point we were there 4 days a week, 5 days a week. And, you know, now we're up to, We have cases of Bibles. We give Bibles away for free. We're connected with some churches over in Africa. I've sent tracts, and the ministry has sent tracts to India and Pakistan and all over Africa, to people that are in need. And, I have a case of Bibles here that we can't ship because it cost 17 times what I paid for the the product, to get over there. And so it's really been snowballing. And now we created a nonprofit, and I just put a fundraiser together for it, and we are just reaching out, you know what I mean? And now we're like, what can we do more? What can we do more? And we're trying to get more people involved, and more food and more stores. Go ahead.
Ask you this: what if you put together like a 12-person trip, and you can carry that stuff in, so you don't have to worry about shipping?
Yeah, but dude, it'd be great. That guy, this guy in Africa has a huge thing going on in September. He's been dying for us to come out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can definitely fundraise that. I'll tell you a really cool story really quick. When we were, this was back in the early 2000s, newly married, and they always take the newly married couple and they throw them with the youth group, and they'll be like, oh, you guys will be great to lead over here. Because nobody else wants to do that. So you go hang out with the teenagers. Yeah. And one of the assistant pastors would teach, and then, we would kind of run whatever, games, events, and coordinate. So we decided we were going to go on a trip. And this was in Quakertown. So some of the kids, had no problem with their families coming up with the money. Yeah. And then some of them obviously, were from, families that didn't have two nickels to rub together. And so I'll never forget this. I was sitting at work. I was paid. My ex was on the trip. She was paid. Our other two leaders were paid. A couple of the kids, most of the kids were paid. But there was two girls from the youth group that weren't covered. And I was sitting at work. And I had someone come in at that time. I think I was just opening an account. This is a long time ago, like checking savings, whatever. And this woman had come in, and she had relocated from down south. And so we get to talking, and conversation came around to, oh yeah, I got this really cool trip coming up. We were going to go to Belize in Central America. We were going to bring a lot of supplies. We were going to visit orphanages. We were going to go into a prison. We did do all that. It was amazing.
That's awesome, dude.
But in talking with her, she said, oh, been looking for, some causes to give to. We haven't gotten plugged into a church around here. And I said, well, we certainly still have some, money that we're raising. And she goes, well, how much can I give you? I said, honestly, I'm not in a position to tell you what to give. You give whatever you're led to. Myke, she gave to the exact dollar of what was to cover those other two girls. The last, two for the trip. Not right. Totally God, not by accident, but by design. And she said, I was like blown away. I'm sitting there like in tears at my desk, and my coworkers are like, what's wrong with that dude? And I said, what do you like? I'm like speechless right now. Yeah. And she said, listen, she goes, when you come back, just, take a couple minutes, I'll come back in, just give me just a couple of minutes to tell me about the trip, to tell me, the impact, really, that's it. That's all I want. I said, we could put together, a night, with you, your family and friends, and, share, like what God did. She goes, oh, if you want, but really, honestly, I'm just saying, I'll be back in, just, love to hear, how it went. Wow. And so had an amazing trip. But it wouldn't happen apart from this stranger just dropping a check that just, by the way, happened to be for the exact what we needed for those kids.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude.
That was the last trip that I went on. And I that doesn't mean that's the last time that, I've been in the mission field, because that's what, right where we are
right now. Yeah.
Every day. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right now. But I I don't know that I won't find an opportunity in the next couple of years to maybe go with all three of my kids. Just kind of have surfaced in the last couple of weeks. My two younger kids got baptized after the divorce, and on their own, have really pursued relationship with God, plugged in through their youth group, and have a group of friends around them, that are all aligned in their faith, and that's difficult, Mike, in this day and age.
Oh yeah,
for kids their age to find other kids that are interested in church. And I got to tell you this, Stuart, it's the coolest thing, because we're talking about brotherhood, not just Christian brotherhood, but how we are there for one another. Especially as guys who don't want to open up to other guys, want to make everyone believe like I got it all together. I'm fine.
Right.
And my son graduated in June. Has an incredible friend group. He played soccer for 10 years. This whole group of kids that are all ride or die with each other. And one of them, toward the end of the senior year, gets a girlfriend. You know how this goes.
Yeah.
Starts to distance himself a little bit, spending all the time with the girl. They graduate, and he's got some family in Alaska. So he and his dad and his girlfriend take this amazing once-in-a-lifetime trip to Alaska. They're there for a week or 2 weeks. I don't know. They come back. She dumps him the next day.
Oh, wow.
And so he calls my son, in tears. And he's like, you just got to come over. He's like, come over for what, bro? Like, what? What's going on?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't tell him. So finally, William pulls it out of him. He's like, so-and-so dumped me. And he's like, well, okay, number one, I love you. Number two, you'll be fine. Number three, I got class in the morning and I can't come over right now. However, because he started college already, he said, you got to get connected. He knows he's a Christian. He's like, you have to take this to God. You got to plug in to, not just, go to church, but plug in with your relationship. This will pass, but that is so important. And this is your opportunity. And then he's telling me this, Mike.
No.
And I'm like, whose son are you?
Yeah.
Just that, to know that, that not because of me, not because of my ex, but because of God.
Yeah.
That's where they are. And they got rocked.
Yeah.
They got rocked 3 years ago. Us getting divorced was left field. It was, mom went around the house one night, kissed everybody, said, I'm taking a break. Didn't kiss me. And then never did return.
Oh, wow.
And so as, my youngest was 10, and then the other two were 15 and 13. And that's a really rough time to have something like that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Since then, it's been, me probably 85, 90% of the time, and they're just doing amazing. And that is by the grace of God, not anything, I try to be obedient and keep them centered, in ways that, he's going to be able to continue to impact and influence them. But man, to hear him, have that conversation and, give that encouragement, to his, one of his best friends.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm grateful for it. And then my other son, is just, he's picking up his Bible in the morning. He is, starting to head down that path of, I just want to absorb this. I want to absorb the Word of God. I don't want to just sit in Sunday school messages. I want to know the Word. And, first of all, if you go to Isaiah, it's just precept upon precept, Mikey. You're not, this isn't hard. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Just little here, a little bit, there, a little bit. It'll get into you if you get into it. And so I'm excited for him. And he went upstairs and he came back down. He's like, Dad, I just read Ephesians. And, in chapter 6, he talks about this armor and and he's going on and on. I'm like, yeah. I said, that's pretty cool, right? I said, now imagine this, Mikey. Imagine the guy who wrote it. First of all, like, take the chapter numbers out, take the line numbers out, just thinking it's a letter, right? He wrote a letter to a church in a town called Ephesus, and he was sitting in prison. And when he was sitting in prison, and he's kind of like laughing at me at this point in time, because I don't think he even believed that, like, because the kids are like, are you telling a dad story or is this real? And I said, Mikey, he's looking at the guard, and he starts to dissect him, element by element, and then ties it all, to these attributes of Christ that we have as, quote, soldiers of Christ. Mike, his eyes were like saucers,
wow.
Like making that connection.
Yeah.
And he's 16, and I could never express the gratitude that I have to God that, my kids aren't where many find themselves. And I don't say that from a judgment place. I'm just saying, like, that's where our world is. We're screwed up.
That's a scary time right now for kids especially. Yeah.
So that they're taking it up, and they are, they're not like radical crazy carrying their Bible under their arm through the hallway. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to step back and beg God to, continue that work in them, and then see it happen.
Yeah, man, that's super awesome. That's, that's my little guy is young yet, but we're starting routines and we're starting to do things. But yeah, man, I can only hope and pray for one day that he blows me away too, and
he will.
Yeah.
He will. I mean, I think that promise is there for us. I know the promise is in God's word, that that's what he'll do. And even when they wander a little bit, he'll bring them back.
Yeah.
But I have to remember that it's what he does. And, I don't know where the verse is, but, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit,
right.
That God is going to, work that out in us. Yeah. And I don't think of having wasted my youth, not having that relationship and not being plugged in. But I am so excited for them that they're starting from this point.
Yeah.
And, they're going to have the opportunity to walk it forward.
Well, the way I see it too is, we went through, I don't look at it as a waste. I do in the overall picture, but that was an important process and a step in development on where we are today. And I probably wouldn't be in the same spot had I not had all those experiences before. And, you learn, just like I said before, like I learned the hard way, and these experiences in life were invaluable to me. Look at what we went through, and with death and being so close up there, and we went through all that stuff there.
I'm really hard-headed, so the fact that I had to have those experiences where I'm like, wow, could have died there, could have died there, could have died there.
Many times.
Then, right, when I finally, when the stuff fell off my eyes, and God's like, man, it's hard, right? It's hard to kick against the goads. I can look back and say, gosh, I only made it through that because of this grace that was waiting for me, when I was willing to turn around and accept it. I went to church. I went to Catholic church at that, that's where I was raised. And I went into a Catholic church in Bloomsburg that was, a couple of blocks away from campus. And it was empty. And I had that conversation, like, if you're actually real, like, I got a list. I got some stuff that I need to happen. And, nothing magically happened when I snapped my fingers or whatever and walked out. But I'll never forget that encounter, because when I actually, began a relationship with God, I always went back to that moment where I'm sitting there begging for him to change some things because I was spiraling. Yeah. And nothing changed because that was his plan. Not to see me hurt, but to see me get to the end of myself.
Right. And that's the tough part, man, is he's got that plan for you, and that everything's got to get stripped away. And it's, for me, it was, everything got stripped away. And, like I said, I don't know. I might have a piece of paper on the wall, but it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, I learn every day, just like everybody else, and it's these experiences that we had, and the people that I know and that I did know. And, dude, it's a miracle to me that you and I are talking right now. You know what I mean? And like, I'm so grateful for that. And dude, I can't wait to have so many more conversations with you, and I can't wait to get together, and I can't wait for our new, just like your son said, what's the difference? Here we are. We reconnected, and
absolutely. Yeah. And praying for, others that, potentially may or may not believe, to connect with and see what God does. That's really exciting. I also, you mentioned you like to write, and, like, literally you can just delete the link if you want, but I sent my blog for over, like, a little over 10 years. Okay. I've been writing, and I store it there, and so you can just scroll through. There's seasons where I wrote, like, a lot, and, almost daily for, like, brief periods of time, and then there's gaps where I didn't write for a really long time. So you can check that out. Nobody goes there, so you would be like the one visitor for the year. But it just, I stopped writing because I told myself, like, dude, nobody cares. Nobody's reading this. And then post-divorce, it took me a while, but I got to the point where I was like, well, I'm not writing for anyone else. I'm writing because, this is stuff I want to get out and express. And I hope that one day that God would lead me to, put something together in an actual book. But in the meantime, I really do enjoy, just writing a little bit and then sharing it as God leads. And I've had some powerful, shares where, just giving something to someone and seeing it, really impact them. So I know it's a gift, and I'm grateful for it. But again, like, I really don't do anything with it, but I brought it up because you said you like to write, so maybe you'll get an opportunity to read it. If nothing else, man, you're having trouble sleeping.
Yeah,
you just bring up one.
Dude, I can't wait to get together, and this is a start of a lot of things. My mind's going 1,000 miles a minute right now. From the moment you said you worked on the board of nonprofits to writing to, dude, I'm super excited to get to meet up with you again. I'm super excited to try and get, Joe in with us. And dude, I can't wait. Like, this is honestly, like, one of the only things I've really looked forward to in my life in the past. It's been a while. It's been many years, because it's like I've gone off and just like you said, I went through this, things got in the way, and I put blinders on, and I don't want to deal with nobody. And, that's not the way we need to be. You and I especially, we're those beacons of light, and we, our job is to get that light out. So I can't wait to reconnect to you. I want you in the studio. I want you at my house. I want you to have dinner with me. Like, I want you a part of my life, dude. You've been a part of my life since the 90s, and we had a small...
I can't wait. I'm going to be, I know you're going to do a little travel here. Yeah. I'm going to be in South Carolina next week, but let's connect the week of, we can connect in between.
Yeah.
But let's see if there's something we can put on the calendar for the week of the 7th or the week after,
or both,
and or both. And at some point, we'll pray about hopefully connecting with Joe too. I'm going to send him a text.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. But thank you so much for reaching out. And this is just a day one, I guess you could say. Can I pray for us?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Go ahead.
Awesome. Father, we thank you, and mostly, Lord, for who you are. We thank you for what you've done. We're not here talking to one another apart from the finished work on the cross. Thanks for revealing yourself to us, to Myke separately, to me separately, and Lord, just showing us your love in spite of how much of a knucklehead we could be. Lord, you wait for us, and you're long suffering, and you're gracious to us, and you're merciful, and now here we are. And so, Lord, in all that we've just discussed here over the last 30, 40 minutes, we just give it up to you. And Lord, wherever you want to take it, and whatever you want to do to continue to help us build a relationship with one another and impact the lives of the people around us that we know and don't know. God, that's what we ask of you tonight. And just pray, Lord, that you would take this mess and certainly turn it into a message, Lord, that we can bring forward to others. We know you're in the midst of it, God. That's not a question. We are excited to see where you take it to, and we'll just thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, dude. Yo, my favorite part of that was a mess to a message. That's awesome, dude. That's from a mess to a message. And
that's my motto. No, it's not that far off. Trust me.
Bro, I'm so glad we reconnected, man. I love you. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait for our lives to intertwine again. And let's not have anything stand in the way, and this is all be God's timing, but I can't wait, dude. I'm super excited. God bless you, man. God bless your family. What else can I say? I can't wait, dude. I can't, just talking to you, I don't even know what to say. Like, I never pictured in the last decade me reconnecting with anyone. You know what I mean? And now to know that it's you, and to know that you're a Christian, and to know that we think, that, dude, I don't even know what to say. I'm actually at a loss for words. I'm just super excited. And
you should change your name to Esther.
Okay, I'll be Esther.
For such a time as this. Hey, I love you. Thank you for connecting, and I'll connect with you, here and there between, and hopefully we'll see each other the week of the 7th.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thanks, Myke.
All right, man. Be good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for being on that journey with me. Man, that was the one of the few times that Dr. Myke is speechless with a large part of my history coming alive, and knowing that he is who he is. And I am super excited for the future here, and whatever God, whatever reason he's got us reconnecting, I can't wait to see. So from the tongue with Dr. Myke, thank you for going on this journey with me, and I will see you next time.